All right, AP Statistics, we are still in Unit 6 and we have arrived at example 3. So I'm going to use the IQ normal distribution again with these parameters of a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 16. And we are going to answer the following questions based on this. All of the questions I'm going to ask you are about values other than those that we would use for the empirical rule. So I'm going to show you how to navigate through a problem like that. All right, so for part A, we're looking at the proportion of scores that fall below 110. So we are always going to start out with a picture, and I'm going to mark the mean all the time, and then I want the proportion of scores that fall below 110. So 110 is going to be, put that in the wrong place. 110 is going to be above 100, so I'm going to make a mark right there, and then I want to shade to the left because I'm interested in below 110. And then I'm going to write an inequality. So the probability that x is less than 110. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use Stapplet to show you the probabilities. This is pretty straightforward and very easy to do. So I'm going to go to Stapplet. And okay, so here's my initial Stapplet page, and I'm going to click on normal distributions. And under normal distributions, you can use your pull down menu to find the area under the curve, or you can calculate a value corresponding to an area. We're looking for all proportions in this particular problem, so we're going to look at finding the area under the normal curve. So the mean, of course, is 100, and the standard deviation is 16. Plot that distribution, and now we've got an option for calculating values. So since I want the value for below 110, I want the area to the left of a value. And then, of course, I will just type in that value, and I get 73.4%. Or you can write it as a decimal. Doesn't matter to me which way you do it. But that is very straightforward and very easy to do. So on the subsequent parts of this problem, I've already gotten everything written out for you because the process of writing and talking over this was just taking too much time. So for part B, I want the proportion of scores that fall below 180. So of course 80 is below 100, and since I want the proportion of values below 80, that's going to be shading to the left. And I've set up my inequality right here appropriately, and now I am going to go back to Stapplet, still finding area to the left, and now I'm finding area to the left of 80. So now I'm going to calculate that. It's 10.56%. And now that brings me to part C. I want the proportion of scores that fall above 120. So I am going to go back to Stapplet. And this time in my drop-down menu, I'm going to choose to the right of a value. And so that is 120. Calculate the area, 10.56%. Hopefully that value makes sense to you, that you got the same thing for part B, because 80 is the same distance away from 100 that 120 is. It's just that they're in opposite directions. So for part D, what is the proportion of scores that fall above 90? I'm going to go to Stapplet again. Still to the right of a value, calculate the area, 73.4%. And then part E, what proportion of scores fall between 95 and 105? I've got my picture here, I've got my shading, I've got my inequality. Going to go to Stapplet to find my answer. This time in my drop-down menu, I'm going to choose between two values. It does give me the option to do that, so that's kind of nice. and I get 24.53%. And then I'm going to do another similar problem here. I want the proportion of scores that fall between 90 and 120. I calculate that area, 62.84%. Okay, that's about as easy as these problems are ever going to be. This is not the only way you can find the answers for these, and there's actually two more ways. You can use a calculator or the chart, and I'm going to show you how to use the chart in another video. Otherwise, this one will be too long.